Hello, friends. Welcome back to Freakish Fridays. Tattooed Biker here with you. And I'm thrilled to present tonight's episode where I'm going to dive into some spine-chilling stories sent in by viewers. In this special edition, we'll be exploring creepy and unnerving encounters experienced by employees working at retirement or nursing homes. So hold on tight and get ready to be captivated by these eerie tales. But before we jump in, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you never miss any unexplained or unsolved content. If you're ready now, just hold on, kick back, and enjoy the ride. Number 1. Dear Biker, I have an experience I wanted to share. For background, I work in a nursing home with hospice patients, so I'm surrounded by death all the time, and I've definitely seen my fair share of weird paranormal things in the home. But this one is really freaking me out. Once a week, I work overnight shifts, and it's a pretty boring shift, just doing checks on specific patients every hour and meds and changing as needed. Last night, my coworker and I were doing our rounds and checking on patients while they sleep. We got to one lady's room, and I went to check on her. I saw her silhouette in bed, and we could see her breathing as well, which is basically all we're checking for. So we all went on with our shift. An hour passes, and we go to check on her again, but she isn't anywhere in the room. We start freaking out because we have no idea where she is, and none of the doors have been triggered, so she had to be in the building. After about half an hour of freaking out, we find out that the lady wasn't even there in the first place. They had forgotten to tell us that she had already been taken to the hospital the day before, and she hadn't been in the building for a while. So that was a relief to us, but what in the hell did I see breathing and laying in her bed? My coworker also saw this, so I know it's not just me. She's been in that room for the entirety of me working there, and I don't know if anyone passed away in that room before her. Like I said before, I definitely see and hear a lot of stuff working in hospice, but this gives me chills because I swear on my life I saw her breathing in that bed. Just crazy stuff. Number 2. Hey, Tattooed. This happened pretty recently, and I just felt the need to share it. I work at a nursing home that is also attached to a hospital. Lately, there's been a lot of death in the nursing home, and it's so weird, like it comes in waves. They say death usually comes in threes, which I found to be true. Sometimes in clusters of threes, like we'll have a group of 3 die within 1 to 2 weeks, and then a few weeks later, another set of 3s, and then we'll go a while without anyone dying. I have a lot of stories about patients and residents seeing children. As of the past month or two, I've had a lot of new stories, and I'm not sure why things have become so active all of a sudden. When I was working night shift, we were doing 2 a.m. rounds, and my fellow coworker froze in her tracks in the hallway and turned completely white and suddenly looked sick. I asked her what was wrong, and she said she saw a full-body apparition of a little boy who looked at her, and then he walked into the wall between 2 residents' room. Within a week, both the residents died. Another thing that happened was this lady rang her call light. No big deal. We go to answer it. It's about 3 o'clock in the morning. The resident asked us why there were children buried in the backyard. Down the hall, there was an adjacent to her. Another resident was banging her head at the wall at the same time, talking about children. And then she died shortly after. This one creeped me out big time, but we had a resident ring, and yet again we go to answer it, and she tells us that we needed to see the lady across the hall because she's dead. We didn't believe her and thought she was crazy, but we went to check on the resident, and sure enough, she had passed away. Another story is the nurse's station at the nursing home has a very high counter. So when someone walks by when you're sitting, you can only see the tops of their head. We were sitting there in the middle of the night once, and we see the top of what we assumed to be a woman's head. She had short, curly black hair, and she was walking very fast, with a purpose down the hall. Come to find out, the same time, on a different unit, another resident who fit that same description passed away. Anyway, that's all I have for now. Thanks for reading, Biker. Number 3. To Biker. I thought you might find this interesting. I work overnights at a retirement home. Needless to say, I've seen some things. I've only been here for about a month, and I've heard some stories from the other workers, but I genuinely didn't believe that it was as bad as it really is. I believe in ghosts, spirits, and entities with my whole being. I even communicate with them on a regular basis through my witchcraft. I wear head veils to work to stop any of the malicious spirits trying to attach to me. Here's a list of some of the encounters I've had over the past month. The scariest by far, sitting at the front desk, I have full view of the atrium. I saw an 8-foot tall black shadow creature sprint between 2 support beams in the atrium. I wasn't looking directly at it, but at the same time, it wasn't on the edge of my vision either. I very clearly saw this lanky shadow thing running between the beams. The second one was my coworker was at the desk around midnight, and I was on a different floor doing some cleaning. I went onto the elevator to come downstairs, and something peeked around the hallway right as the door closed. I immediately got goosebumps. I asked my coworker if a resident was walking around, and she said she didn't hear or see anything. Another one is all my coworkers who have worked the night shift have told me about spirits rushing up on them when they are walking down a certain long hallway. It's the most common experience I have here, so often that I'm barely fazed by it anymore. I was on our top floor and I felt the rush, but I kept looking forward and said, "You don't scare me." And then 3 loud knocks were heard from the roof above me. One time, I heard children giggling and calling my name. This one could easily be mental health related, but I thought it was important to take notice. Many times a night, I will hear or feel people walking around me, upstairs behind me, or even tapping on my desk to try and get my attention. All the while, nothing's really there. I've had entire garbage bags move around me. Like in my wheelie bin, one second I'll turn around to grab a garbage bag from the room I'm in, and I'll go back and it'll be out of the bin and neatly placed on the floor a few feet away. There's no way it's a resident because they can't get away that quickly, and I'm the only staff working at night anymore. Pretty non-exciting, but the motion-activated doors love to simply open at random and perfectly timed moments. My coworker was hanging around really late once, and I said for her to go home. The doors opened simultaneously, even though no one was there to trigger them. We also have a chapel up on the 3rd floor. On a regular basis, I'll do my first round check of the building, and the doors will be closed and locked. Later, around 5, I do another round and one of the doors will be standing open. And there's an urge to go near or even into the chapel, but for personal reasons I avoid it. It seems eerie and like something is trying to draw me in there. If I think of any more stories, I'll be sure to send them to you. Number 4. Hey TB, I have a story that happened to me a little while back. I want to see what you think. It was my turn at the on-call rotation one weekend in 2014 as the director of nursing for a long-term care facility. And we had a last-minute call-in for a nursing shift, so I went in to cover. We had had a new admission the night before, whom I'd yet to meet and was due for evening insulin. I only knew the basics about her, and as I walked in to check her blood sugar, I immediately knew she had issues. She was sitting in the corner of her room, and as I approached the door to walk in, she stared straight at me as she slowly stood from her wheelchair and wordlessly shrank back into the corner with her back against the wall, appearing to be very angry while trying to get away from me. It hit me like a sledgehammer that she was possessed, and the demon inside her knew that I could see it, and I knew that it knew that I knew that it was looking directly at me. I admit that I'm a follower of Jesus, which seems to make me more aware of this kind of thing in my day-to-day life, and it's more common in healthcare settings. But it's still not very common in my regular work encounters. So I immediately stopped as soon as I saw the evil in her eyes. I knocked on her door, called her by name, and told her that it was time to check her blood sugar. And she spoke not one word as I shut my mouth, stopped talking, and turned around and ran out. I knew the unit manager was also a Christian and that he wouldn't think I, his boss of all people, was insane. I found him also giving meds and told him that our new patient had a demon in her. I told him that I just needed him to help me because I wasn't expecting it to be so glaringly obvious and it looked like it wanted to hurt me, followed by an explanation of the patient standing up and silently backing away from me. This is the thing. This nurse was an even-tempered, self-confident, gentle, but strong man. No matter how ridiculous people or circumstances were, this nurse always remained calm, cool, and collected. Suddenly, in the middle of our walk back to the patient's room, he stopped dead in the hall and asked me to repeat myself. "Miss Kim, did you just say she stood up and walked backwards and then crouched down in the corner?" "Yep." "No offense intended, ma'am, but you're in someone else's room, where Satan sure hates you." "Why do you say that?" "Because she's an 80-year-old woman and has been a paraplegic for the last 30 years. Didn't you read yesterday's admission report?" So, yeah, the now terrified unit manager ran into the patient's room, checked her blood sugar while I drew up her insulin, and whispered to it not to move, speak, or do anything at all in the name of Jesus under my breath. The entire time he was giving her insulin, she silently glared at me over his shoulder. Thank God she went home a few days later. Because nope, not this nurse and not any of the nurses in the building. Not today or any other day, Satan. And there it is. 4 spine-tingling tales from retirement and nursing homes. I'd like to extend a huge thank you to everyone who shared their stories. Your courage to come forward and speak about these eerie encounters is truly appreciated. If you have a story you'd like to share, leave a comment down below letting me know, and I'll reply back letting you know how you can send it to me. And then, if your story is chosen, I'll be sure and email you to let you know it's going to be used in an upcoming episode. If you're new to the channel and enjoyed this episode, please make sure to like the video and consider subscribing. It's completely free and it really helps out the channel. So thanks for watching, and until next time, stay curious, stay vigilant, stay safe, and I'll be seeing you on down the road a ways. Biker, out.